Recently, BLUETTI released an ultra-thin power station designed specifically for fridge backup. Then, not too long after, Jackery came out with their own version of the same product. And they might look like direct competitors, but it turns out there's a lot separating these two. So, depending on your needs and your use cases, one might make more sense than the other. Or maybe neither of them do. So we put them head to head to find out which one is actually worth your money. Welcome back to the lab where our opinions cannot be bought. We've already spent a lot of time with the BLUETTI FridgePower here at the lab and we really liked it. We even posted another video on the TSL Plus channel showing 5 other ways you could use it other than a fridge backup. When we got our hands on the Jackery FridgeGuard, we had high hopes and thought it would be very similar or better. But after putting it through our tests, the differences became very clear. We will also leave links in the description to full-length videos on both of these units, along with discount codes to try and save you guys some money. And if by the end of this video you're still not sure if either of these are for you, you can take our power station quiz that gives you a tailored recommendation based on your needs that we would actually recommend. So let's hit you with a super quick spec teardown to get you up to speed on both of these units. First up, Jackery has a 1024 watt-hour battery bank, where the BLUETTI has a 2016 watt-hour battery, which is almost double. When we move to inverter, the Jackery has an 800 watt output, whereas the BLUETTI has a 1800 watt inverter. When it comes to surging, the Jackery did not reach its advertised rating, whereas the BLUETTI handled a very large surge and went all the way up to 2150 watts. In terms of getting power back into these units, the BLUETTI has an AC input of 1440 watts with a regular house plug, and it charged in roughly an hour and 45 minutes. The BLUETTI also has a solar input of 1000 watts. That means it can charge in roughly 2 hours. The Jackery has an 800 watt AC input with a regular house plug, and that can charge in roughly an hour and 22 minutes. The solar charging is much less at 500 watts, but you need an adapter, which we don't have, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. When it comes to expandability, the BLUETTI is expandable from 2 to 8 kilowatts, which is 3 expansion batteries plus the unit, for a total of 8 kilowatts. The Jackery is only expandable from 1 to 2 kilowatt hours. When it comes to plugs and ports on the Jackery, you have your AC input and only one house plug. Then you also have an expansion port, and that triples as your solar input, your car charging port, and your expansion batteries. So if you were to have an expansion battery, you can't charge with solar. If you were to use your car charger port, you can't use it as an expansion battery. It's a pretty stupid design because when you look at the BLUETTI, it has 2 house plugs, an AC input, a dedicated solar input, and an expansion battery port with communication. So they don't have to use a dongle. Jackery probably should have took a page out of BLUETTI's book for this. When it comes to price, Jackery costs $561, only available at Costco. Now that could be a hassle if you don't have a membership because it's not available on their website. Whereas the BLUETTI is $721, which used to be available on Kickstarter, but now it's on their website. Also in the description, we have links to coupon codes for both these units to try and save you guys some money. Now, after knowing the specs on these two units, BLUETTI obviously has some advantages for only $160 more. And you might be thinking this isn't even a fair comparison, and you're right. And it actually gets worse. When it comes to actually running your fridge during an outage, which is literally what these are designed to do, the BLUETTI's battery capacity is sized accordingly to run the average fridge for a whole day. In our testing, an average fridge uses around 1300 watt hours per day. So the BLUETTI actually has more than you need. If you're interested, we also made a whole video on how to figure out how much your fridge takes, and we'll leave it in the description. If you want one more day of backup with the BLUETTI, you would get one more expansion battery, or you could go all the way up to 4 days with 3 expansion batteries plus the unit. And in our opinion, this is great and it's very easy for the consumer to understand. In our experience, one BLUETTI unit kept the fridge running for about 28 hours. It also had an idle draw of 16.8 watts. This just means if you were to turn it on with nothing plugged into it, it would last about 5 days. The Jackery didn't even last 1 day with our testing. When we ran our test, we plugged it in at 5 p.m. before we left the lab. Then when we got in the next day at 8 a.m., it was dead. We also found out that it turns itself off when there's no load present. So we decided to run a second test to figure out how long before it turns itself off. Okay, so it's been about 4 hours and 7 minutes the test has been running, and I've been checking it about every 15 minutes. I might have just missed it, but we can go back and check. As you can see, the FridgeGuard, the power light is off and the app is disconnected. So because there's no load present, it timed out. Where the BLUETTI, the indicator lights are still on, so it means it's still running with no load present. Now we also calculated that the Jackery has an idle draw of 12.8 watts, so it would last about 3.3 days if it actually idled. Now most of the time your fridge will cycle frequently enough to keep this unit on, but this could be a huge deal breaker if your fridge was in a cold environment, say a cabin during the winter where your fridge doesn't need to cycle as frequently. The Jackery will time out and then you have no power. Even though we just shit on the Jackery, here is the Jackery's edge because it does have some advantages. It's obviously cheaper, it's thinner at 2.6 inches versus the BLUETTI is 3 inches, and lighter at 23 pounds versus 43 pounds. It has a built-in screen that changes orientation depending on how the unit is sitting. So if it's standing like it is on the legs right now, the screen is vertical. If you were to lay it sideways, say on the top of your fridge, then the screen will rotate so you don't have to tilt your head to try and read the screen. But the screen can be hard to see if the unit is on top of your fridge or behind it. That's why it's nice that the BLUETTI comes with an additional screen that shows you your settings that you wouldn't normally see, or if it was tucked up on your fridge. It's nice to see what the power station is doing at quick glance. So you could put this on, say, the countertop beside the fridge, even if you can't actually see the power station itself. Now, back to Jackery, it's really cool that it stands like this. These are really useful if you were to use it under your desk, in your office, or beside your bed. And you might be like, well, why would you do that? It's for a fridge. And you're right. So you could also use it for computer backup like a UPS, or beside your bed for a CPAP machine. And this unit would actually work really well for those specific use cases because there would be a constant load present. Those devices also don't require high output, and the battery size is pretty good for those things. Now, the BLUETTI can do all those things too, but it would tip over because it doesn't have those feet. Now, another thing too is if you were to stand the unit like this one, the state of charge display and the power button would be at the bottom, so it can be a little bit annoying. The Jackery was also a lot quieter than the BLUETTI. The BLUETTI is not the loudest power station we've had here at the lab, but it's something to note. Now this brings us to Jackery's last advantage. If appearance matters to you, then this thing looks premium. If you were to put it in an office setting or beside your bed, it won't stick out like a sore thumb. So if any of that is important to you, then the Jackery might be a good choice. But if none of that matters to you, then obviously the BLUETTI is a better performing unit. If we had to pick one to recommend to our friends and family, we would pick the BLUETTI. It does everything the Jackery does and more. It has a bigger battery, a bigger inverter, and more plugs. Basically, that means it can power more, it can charge multiple ways without the need of an adapter, and that's something the Jackery just can't do. And it's only a $160 difference. The BLUETTI can be mounted both vertically and horizontally, where the Jackery can only be hung vertically. And it also has this screen, but keep in mind it is an additional cost. It also has things like smart home integration and weather alerts, which means if a storm is coming, the unit will actually charge itself up in preparation for that storm. And on top of that, it can actually peak shave, which is just banking power during low usage times and then deploying that power during high usage times. So you basically shave that higher rate off your bill. It also just does way more than a fridge backup. It's basically a slim power station, not just a fridge backup. Now, the form factor of both these units is really cool because you can fit it, say, under the backseat of your pickup truck. You could take it camping or use it as a UPS. It's expandable, so as your needs change down the line, you can expand your system for more battery capacity. It's also available on their website, where the Jackery is only Costco and not everybody has a Costco membership. And the list just goes on. BLUETTI is a better unit. So hopefully Jackery can fix this timeout issue with the software update. It shouldn't be that hard to do. Like I said before, we have full review videos on both of them if you want to learn more about them. We saw in the comments that you guys are suggesting some similar products from other brands. We're actively testing those, and if there's any more you want to see us review and put head to head, let us know down in the comments. So please subscribe if you want to stay updated on those. We also have links to our discount codes in the description and our power station quiz that gives you a tailored recommendation based on your needs. But that's pretty much all we got for you today. Thank you for watching. Peace out and stay charged.